Hey everyone, so in this section we're talking about potential career paths for those of you who majored in psychology or for those of you who are majoring in psychology and are wondering what potential options could be available to you when you graduate. Now, of course, we can't touch upon all of the different options a psychology major might pursue. However, we are going to focus on a few examples that you might be interested in, particularly for those of you who want to stay within the psychology realm when you graduate. Now, one of the most amazing things about a psychology degree is the fact that it can be incredibly versatile depending on the program that you happen to be in and what specific courses you're taking as part of your degree. Now, a lot of people naively assume that if you're going to be majoring in psychology, you're going to be confined to positions like a counselor or a psychologist. And of course, these positions do require additional education at the master's or even PhD level. However, in this particular segment, we're going to be talking about a variety of different positions across a multitude of different disciplines that you probably haven't considered before. Now, one of the most interesting things about a psychology degree is the fact that depending on what university and what specific department you're going to be pursuing the degree in, the actual courses tied to your degree might be slightly different. Depending on the specific coursework that you're going to be taking, you might open yourself up to a multitude of different types of positions that you otherwise might not have thought possible. So, for example, if you're interested in very specialized or even clinical positions like behavioral therapy or counseling or marriage therapy, addictions counseling, etc., you might be able to pursue specific coursework or even a master's or PhD in these particular fields in order to pursue a career in this realm. Now, keep in mind there might be some entry-level positions that you might be interested in, which will be very helpful for those of you who want to gain some experience to determine whether or not this is something you actually want to devote your career to. Some examples might be a counselor's assistant or even a counseling coordinator, and there's a variety of other positions you might want to look into as well before you actually pursue graduate level work to determine what it is that you actually want to specialize in and whether or not this is something you want to devote your entire career to. Now, while some of these positions might draw from very specific frameworks, one of the interesting things about psychology is the fact that there's a lot of overlapping similarities amongst a variety of different branches within psychology. For example, if you're looking at something like organizational psychology, that's an area that a lot of people don't necessarily look to or even know even exists. This might be very helpful for those of you who want to work within human resources. There's a lot of positions within recruiting, and HR analyst, HR coordinator, corporate trainers, benefit coordinators, HR business partners for those of you who have a little bit more experience, and even corporate executive coaches, or even some corporate trainers, or executive trainers, I should say, who also have some additional experience as well. These are all positions that might draw from the area of psychology and might specifically draw from the skill sets that you're able to develop either at the undergraduate or graduate level with a psychology background. Now, while human resource departments are very common amongst public and private enterprises, it's also very important to consider the fact that there's a lot of management consulting firms that do have human capital specializations or even human capital practice areas. And there's a lot of management consulting companies that are actually devoted specifically to addressing a lot of the HR concerns that companies and organizations might actually have. And so your background in psychology might be a great introduction to this, and it might even be a great precursor to a graduate level coursework, either in organizational psychology, human resource management, or even an MBA, to be able to further develop the skills that you've been able to accumulate through your undergraduate studies. Now, while we're on the topic of further education, not only can you consider pursuing a master's or PhD in psychology and go into some clinical work, there's also other opportunities for you to pursue other opportunities like social work, as an example. A lot of people might look at this as a great opportunity to get into some social and human services positions that they might not otherwise be qualified for. However, without a graduate degree, you might also look for entry-level positions within support work, crisis work, personal care assistant, clinical coordinator, research assistant, etc. Those are all examples of some areas that you might want to look into, particularly if you're early on in your career and you actually want to determine whether or not you want to pursue some graduate level work in these specific areas, and if so, what specific areas you actually want to focus on. Now, a lot of people might say a psychology degree might be very helpful to determine why we make the decisions that we do. What you'll find is that there's an increasing amount of positions within business that is going to draw from some of these skills. A great example might be some roles within marketing. So product marketing, market research, brand management, etc., to understand why it is that consumers make the decisions that they do and how companies and businesses can reposition their products and services in the marketplace in order to best serve the customers that they're actually marketing to. And so one of the things to keep in mind is if you're looking for one of these specific positions, you're coming from a non-traditional background, it's really going to be how you're going to position the skills that you've been able to accumulate through your undergraduate studies. This might require you to build up a freelance portfolio. This might require you to do some internships or just build up a body of work before you actually apply to some of the specific positions that you're actually targeting so that you can make yourself as competitive as possible. Now, a route within the technology sector that some people might be interested in is within user experience research. Now, this is a fairly newly popularized field, I should say, within major tech firms. A lot of tech firms will hire psychology grads as one of the majors that they actually look for to help better understand how users are actually interacting with the product and how they can best tailor the product to the users that they're actually building the products for. This could also work hand in hand with user experience designers. And so, depending on your background, if you have some level of design experience, you may be able to get more into the design route as well. However, having a user experience researcher within the team is going to help best determine what the designer should be focusing on and what it is that they should be asking for of the customers when they're actually building products for them. And so as you can see, a lot of the positions that we've talked about are also very versatile, but they all do draw from a similar set of skills which you might have been able to develop through your undergraduate studies. Also consider the fact that a lot of people might see a psychology degree as being a precursor to medical school depending on the specific coursework that they would have taken through their undergraduate studies. If they've taken more science-based courses, they might feel that they're going to be a very competitive applicant to medical school as an example, or if they've taken more of the social science-based courses, they might actually be interested in something like law school as an example. Having an understanding of how the human mind works and why we make the decisions that we do might actually be extremely effective for someone who wants to be an attorney. I think the key thing we want to circle back to and really reinforce is how versatile a psychology degree can be by nature. Depending on the specific coursework that you actually take and what it is that you actually want to specialize in, there's a variety of different types of positions that you might open yourself up to. This might also be a very good foundational degree for those of you who want to open yourself up to a variety of different things but don't necessarily know what it is that you specifically want to focus on. I think a background in psychology is not only applicable to the specific positions that we outlined in this segment, however, I think it's applicable to a variety of other positions as well. I think the key thing to keep in mind is being able to extrapolate the specific skill sets that you're going to develop through a psychology degree and being able to effectively communicate to how those skills can be transferable to a variety of other positions that we didn't even cover in this segment. I think what you'll find is that there's psychology graduates embedded in almost every industry that you can think of. A lot of this is going to depend on what skills that you're able to actually convey to the employers, depending on what positions that you're specifically interested in. So that's going to be it for this segment. Hopefully this actually has a tremendous starting point for those of you who are majoring in psychology or for those of you who are thinking about majoring in psychology in the future. Also consider the fact that we only talked about a few of the potential routes that you should consider as a psychology major, and there is a variety of other positions you should also consider if this is a path you want to devote your career to. And as always, if you appreciated this segment, please be sure to leave your comments, questions, and concerns in the comment section below. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.